colossal heat dome is literally baking much of the country, and this could cause widespread crop failures. Michael Snyder reports. This is a map of NOAA. Yesterday, June 27, just a few hours ago, 8 p.m. If you live in Southwest, you don't need to tell me to tell you that it's hot. A massive heat dome has been sitting over the region for quite some time, and it doesn't appear that it will be moving much for at least several more days. There have been many areas where the heat index has already been up to around 120 degrees. In Rio Grande Village, the actual temperature was 119 degrees on Friday, and forecasters were warning that the same reading would be reached again on Tuesday. This extreme heat has already caused several deaths, and it could potentially cause widespread crop failures. If you live in an area that's been affected by this heat dome, please don't take any unnecessary risks. According to a professor of atmospheric science at Iowa State University, the extreme heat that's being produced can make it feel like an oven when you are outside. A heat dome occurs when a persistent region of high pressure traps heat over an area, according to William Gallus, professor of atmospheric science at Iowa State University. Gallus said in the article in The Conversation, the heat dome can stretch over several states and linger for days to weeks, leaving the people, crops, and animals below to suffer through stagnant hot air that can feel like an oven. Unfortunately, it's going to be some time before cooler temperatures come along, and it's being reported that extreme heat will soon expand north to the plains and east into the southeast. Tens of millions of Americans across the south and central U.S., many of them in Texas, have endured a brutal heat wave over the past couple of weeks as temperatures soared to record levels, including some above 110 degrees. Forecasters expect the intense heat to continue in Texas for much of this week and expand north into the plains and east into the southeast. Meteorologist Scott Piley warned on Twitter that more temperature records could topple, leading to dangerous heat index values. Needless to say, all of this heat is not good for the crops. According to Newsweek, crops in Texas are basically cannibalizing themselves in a desperate attempt to survive. Crops in Texas are essentially cannibalizing themselves to survive during the state's severe heat wave, according to one farmer. They are drying up a lot faster than they should, causing it to lodge and fall over. The plant is basically cannibalizing itself and eating itself up, trying to survive, farmer James Fask told KRIS-TV in Corpus Christi. This is really bad news, but if crops elsewhere were doing great, we would be fine. Of course, that is not the case at all. Further north, drought conditions continue to spread throughout the Middle East. Nearly 60% of the Midwest, which includes Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Ohio, and Wisconsin, is under moderate drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, which is run jointly by the federal government and the National Drought Mitigation Center at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Nearly 93% of the region is abnormally dry, with around 16% of it suffering severe drought. In the Great Plains states of Kansas and Nebraska, the situation is far worse. A quarter of Nebraska and 38% of Kansas are under extreme drought. More than a tenth of Nebraska and 8% of Kansas are in exceptional drought, the monitor's most severe stage. As I've detailed in previous articles, corn and soy farmers are being absolutely devastated by the persistent drought conditions. At this point, some parts of Illinois have received only around 5% of normal rainfall this month. Only 5%. Parts of Illinois have received only 5% of normal rainfall this month, he said. Several places in the state should have 10 more inches of precipitation than they've gotten since April. Cities in the Chicago area are having their driest period since 1936. Major rivers in the state, such as the Illinois and the Kankakee, are at record lows for this time of year. So what is going to happen if plenty of rain does not come in the weeks ahead? Illinois is one of our most important farming states. It normally produces massive amounts of corn and soy, but now conditions are so bad that giant dust storms are being produced. For example, an absolutely gigantic dust storm that happened on 1st of May resulted in an 84 vehicle pileup. Illinois farming practices have come into sharper focus since May 1st, when a massive cloud of soil blown from nearby fields by winds topping 40 miles an hour blanketed a busy stretch of Interstate 55 south of Springfield. The resulting 84 vehicle pileup killed 8 people and injured at least 36 others. Some called what happened that morning a perfect storm, unprecedented in its size, its staying power, and the carnage it caused. For a long time I tried to explain to my readers that Dust Bowl conditions would be returning to the middle of the country, and now we are here. Last week I wrote about the fact that 64% of our corn and 57% of our soy is currently being grown in areas that are experiencing drought. It will be interesting to see how those numbers change when the next U.S. Drought Monitor update comes out tomorrow, Thursday. And even before this heat dome arrived, U.S. corn was in horrible condition. In fact, the last time U.S. corn was in such bad shape was in 1992. That's more than 30 years ago. And now this heat dome threatens to take this crisis to an entirely new level. Sadly, all of this is happening in the context of the worst global food crisis in modern history. Severe famines have already erupted in some areas of the globe, and global food supplies are only going to get tighter in the years ahead. If you do not know how to grow a garden, I would encourage you to learn, because we're now entering unprecedented territory. And this is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissions earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so you won't miss any of my articles. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, The Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are published on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this About the Author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media on Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.